I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. It was such an honor to have Democratic Congressman Jamie Raskin on the Mea Culpa podcast with Michael Cohen on the podcast. Jamie Raskin was not mincing words when the congressman talked about how the Republican Party has become a full-blown authoritarian party that doesn't give a crap about democracy anymore and what it is we can do about it. I want to show you this clip of the interview between Democratic Congressman Jamie Raskin and Michael Cohen. This is a must-see clip. Meidas Mighty, play it.
I just had my 6-month checkup after the chemo ended, and everything looks good. They couldn't find any cancer cells, so I'm hanging tough. Meantime, the body politic is still suffering with Donald Trump at large and him having consolidated his power and control over the Republican Party, which is now operating like an authoritarian party. You know, the political scientists tell us an authoritarian party is one which does not accept the results of elections that don't go their way. They refuse to disavow or they openly embrace political violence as a means for achieving power. And they violate at every turn and express their intention to violate at every turn the constitutional order. So this is what we've got, as well as a charismatic leader that in the sociological sense, not in the political sense, but yes, a charismatic leader who is able to control not just his party, but large masses of people through his words. So it is a terrifying situation. He has made it clear that he wants the Constitution set aside. He said that repeatedly. And their absolute intention is to weaponize the government, and everything they talk about with respect to law enforcement weaponizing the government is just a projection and an inversion rhetorically to try to confuse people about what's going on. I mean, we've never had a president who has attempted to completely convert the government into an instrument of his personal will. And that's what we've got with Donald Trump. And I saw another article akin to the one you're describing, Michael. I think it was in the Times about, maybe it was in the Post, about how many of Donald Trump's former confidants and intimates and close associates, such as yourself, are blowing the whistle from the rooftops, telling people if he comes back, we're moving into a very different kind of government, at least something like you see in Putin's Russia, and perhaps even worse. He is talking about creating concentration camps for undocumented people, rounding them up, putting them into camps, and deporting millions of people. So that might give people a glimpse of what he's got in mind.
Yeah, he's got more than that in mind, and both you and I are on that list. I can assure you of that one. But the article you're referring to is the one that dealt with Cassidy Hutchinson when she said, by the way, it's not that she's saying anything new or unique, and I'm thankful that she has finally come forward. Would have been nice if she would have come forward a little earlier, right? But she's been saying or parroting what I've been saying, what you've been saying for an awfully long time. In fact, Congressman, I actually called on you and asked you as a favor. I do intend on putting through pardon application. And one of the things that we talked about, which is I suspect why you agreed to even produce the letter for me, and if I can, I'll just quote one fast line. Mr. Cohen has done good time for his offenses, endured outrageous and unlawful retaliatory punishment in the form of more than 2 weeks in solitary confinement in prison for refusing to surrender his First Amendment rights. I mean, that is exactly what Donald Trump intends to do. He intends to rewrite the Constitution on day number one. He intends to destroy our tripartite system of government, confer all power to the executive branch, namely himself. He's going to, at that point in time, he won't even need Congress. He won't need the judiciary. If you're not on his side, if you're not a Jim Bag Jordan, if you're not a Marjorie Toilet Green or any of the other sycophantic members of the Congress, well, He'll just round you up, jail you, and throw you somewhere, very much like what Stalin used to do. There is no need for, or what Kim Jong-un would do, or what Mohammed bin Salman or Putin does, like, for example, to Navalny and others. This is exactly what he wants to do. And I'll tell you, you know who really needs to worry as much as you and I? Are the uber wealthy, the Elon Musks, the Zuckerbergs, right? All of these, gabillionaires, because the first thing he's going to do is parrot what Mohammed bin Salman did. He's going to round them up. He's going to put them on little cots at Mar-a-Lardo in the ballroom. And he's going to have them sign over their vast wealth to him, because he never wanted to be president of the United States. He always looked at this as it was supposed to be the greatest infomercial in the history of U.S. politics. Now he's already tasted what the power is. He knows what he's done. He certainly tried it with me. And thank God for Alvin K. Hellerstein and my attorney, Danya Perry, for having me released. But look at also January 6th. These are practice runs for him. He now knows what he can and he can't do. And my real fear is on day number 1, right after he gets sworn in, he tries to change the Constitution, and anybody that's going to go against him is going to feel his wrath.
Well, I agree with everything you just said, except I don't know that he's going to change the Constitution. He's not going to try to amend the Constitution with a 2/3 vote in the House and the Senate and 3/4 of the states, because we would absolutely be able to stop him there. He will just avoid and trample the Constitution, as he did in your case. I mean, what he did to Michael Cohen was to have you thrown into solitary confinement for a 2-week period in an utterly lawless manner, until finally your lawyers were able to get a federal district court judge to get you released. But this is, his methodology. I mean, he almost overthrew the presidential election of 2020 through multiple different offensives, first in the state legislatures, then with state election officials like Brad Raffensperger. He pressed at all of these different pressure points to see if he could make it happen. And finally, when too many people stood up against him, then it was, we are going to get Vice President Pence, who was the sycophant of sycophants for 4 years, to step outside of his constitutional role and just unilaterally decree that Trump would be the president again. And on that day, Mike Pence earned his salary and said he wouldn't do it. In the meantime, he unleashed a violent insurrection against us by saying, you got to fight, and you got to fight like hell. And if you don't, you won't have a country anymore. And we're going down to the Capitol, and on and on and on. Everybody saw exactly what happened. Nothing in American history compares to what he did to us on that day. So he will push it as far as he can go. So what we're looking for is the mass majority of Americans who reject authoritarianism, who reject totalitarianism, who reject his intended alliance with every tyrant and despot and kleptocrat and autocrat on earth, right, to stand up in this election and then to vote to stop them that way, to defend the election results against the inevitable, which is they will claim it's been stolen. And then, who knows what hell he intends to unleash against the American Republic. So it is not too early to be talking about this. And I'm thrilled that you're out there campaigning for our democracy, which is also campaigning for our freedom.
Hey, Meidas Mighty, love this report? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram @MeidasTouch to keep up with the most important news of the day. What are you waiting for? Follow us now.